Oh, hello! Welcome back to my Chanel. I'm really excited about today's video because we are going to be doing a DIY rhinestone outfit completely from scratch. And because I like to make things hard for myself, we're doing it without any kind of pattern. But before we get into the video, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to the amazing creator of my new wig. Look how gorgeous these purples are. This wig was custom made and dyed for me by Shopwell Beauty. He is an amazing wig creator and I highly recommend checking him out. Thank you so much, Will. You did an amazing job with this wig. Now, I first got inspiration to do this because of the amazing YouTuber Nava Rose. She made this beautiful pink sequin rhinestone outfit for her birthday, I think last year. And when I saw that outfit, I knew I wanted to recreate it. She looked so amazing and it was so sparkly and I love the little heart detail there. But of course, I had to recreate it in black. This video is sponsored by the Amazon store where I got this fabric, and it is called, I'm so sorry for mispronouncing this, An Jai Thai. They sent me 1 yard of this beautiful rhinestone fabric, and that is what I used today to make everything that I'm wearing. So you can find this on Amazon, and this is called the 1 yard Woman Sexy Fishnet. You can get this in 5 different colors: apricot, black, blue, red, and white. And of course, I used black. I'll leave a link to where you can buy this on Amazon down in the description box. In this video, I'll show you how to make the choker, top, skirt, and face mask entirely from 1 yard of fabric. So without further ado, let's dive in. So for the chain part of the top, I just repurposed this old body chain that I got from eBay years ago. And the most important part is to have something that has 2 claw clips so it can clip onto the mesh on either side of the top. So that's why I used this one. And I was sent 1 yard of fabric, and of course, Kitty was supervising as I worked. She's so freaking cute. Look at that little face. And this is what it looked like before. It is so sparkly and gorgeous. I love that this is soft mesh fabric with rhinestones on top rather than metal mesh like the fabric I used in my other DIY boot video, because this was so much easier to work with. Plus, it's a lot more sparkly, and I love that the rhinestones have almost a rainbow effect to them where they are multicolors instead of just pink. So to start, I laid out a miniskirt and a bralette that I already had that fit me just to see if I had enough fabric to make both the top and the skirt. And then since the skirt would use up most of the fabric, I cut that out first. I literally just wrapped the fabric around me to see how much I'd need because I did not have a pattern. And thankfully, this fabric was very stretchy. And I didn't have any pins handy, so instead I used binder clips to hold the fabric together, so that way I knew where to cut and make my seams. So once I laid it down, I just ended up cutting a straight line down across the side, giving a few inches for seam allowance. And then once I had cut that all the way down, and then I had my skirt material set aside, I moved on to the top. And I got this cute gold heart ring off Amazon. I'll link everything down below, and this would be what holds my top together. So then I took the bralette I showed you earlier, and I just took the remaining fabric and held it up to see how much I would need to make the first cup on the left side. And this is roughly where the heart shape was going to go. And then because I didn't have any pins handy, I just used paper clips. And then once I was happy with the placement of it, I just cut right underneath my bust there. Then I had this little triangle piece of fabric, which I then pinned to the heart just to see if I had enough room for it to stretch and go over my bosom, which it did. So now that I had a shape I was happy with, I laid it out on the floor and then I cut another piece the same size. Obviously, I flipped the fabric so it would be a mirror image. Then I laid them side by side, wrapping the ends around the heart ring. For the rest of the top, I just cut out one long rectangle which was about 6 by 32 inches. Now I wanted my heart ring to be silver, so I used this metallic nail polish I got from Essie in shade There's No Place Like Chrome, and I used about 3 or 4 layers on top of the ring, and it made it a lovely silver color. I also wanted my top to be lined, so I used some black lining fabric I got from Joann's Fabric for this part. I laid the triangles down on top and just cut around them, and then I used some black thread and a needle that I got from Walmart to hand stitch the 2 pieces together. I ended up stitching along the very outside of the pieces so the mesh laid down as flat as possible. I didn't want to sew the entire piece of mesh down to the fabric, that way it would have more stretch and give later on. And here's a little speedy time lapse of how I sewed them. All of the hand sewing was the most time-consuming part of this DIY. Everything else was fairly quick and easy, so I ended up just watching a few episodes of Keeping Up with the Kardashians while I sewed. It made the time pass a lot more quickly. And then I pinned the triangles onto my bralette while I was wearing it and started sewing the ends of the fabric around the heart, trying to scrunch it the best that I could. I was pretty happy with how things were looking at this point, especially with how much of the heart was still visible. So this was just more hand sewing with my needle and thread. And then I was really happy with how things were looking, especially with how much of the heart was visible. So I just had to do a little dance because I was so excited. So now for the rest of the top, this is the rectangular piece I cut out earlier, and I just wrapped that around myself to see if it would stretch and if it would fit to put the ends inside of the heart as well. Now, originally I had used the same black lining as I did for the triangles that I showed you earlier, but unfortunately I didn't realize till after I had already cut it out and stitched it onto the mesh that this was not stretchy material. So that ended up not working well at all. I ended up using a black piece of fabric from a slip I thrifted instead because it was a stretchy piece of fabric, and this also had some cute little lace at the bottom, which I thought was a nice addition to the top. Now, because I didn't want to spend hours hand sewing this part, I put it in my sewing machine and I sewed it using a stretch zigzag stitch. Now I know this doesn't look very pretty, but the reason that happened is because I couldn't put the foot of the sewing machine down all the way because the rhinestones kept getting caught on it, so I had to sew this entire thing with the foot up. Now, to attach it to the rest of the top, I put it under the triangles and bunched the ends around the heart, and I wanted to put the triangles on top to make it look more smooth and have it contour better to my body shape. Again, I was just wrapping this around my body to see how it would fit, and then I hand sewed the ends around the heart and tried to bunch it together as best I could. Once I had sewed all of that, I was pretty happy with it. The hardest part was definitely sewing all the edges of the mesh to make it look seamless so nothing was poking out. It was a lot of hand sewing, to say the least. Now for the skirt, I used a 1.5-inch heavy waistband elastic that I found at Walmart for the waistband. Now what I did is I just laid down my skirt fabric that I had cut out earlier on the floor, and I just pinned the elastic to the ends. And I measured the elastic to my waist size and just cut that out. Now I machine sewed most of the skirt, and I sewed the waistband in place doing that, as well as sewing straight up the back seam where the ends of the fabric met. I ended up also adding a zipper from Walmart to the top as well, and I was pretty happy with it. It is a little crooked, I know. And I also had to cut a slit in the fabric on the right side there, as you can see, so it wouldn't bunch up. But overall, I was just so happy to be done with it. I didn't want to mess with it anymore. I also ended up hand sewing the edges of everything so the rhinestones would lay flat against each other for the seam at the bottom. As you can see, the zipper is quite functional. And then for the mask, I used this mask I got from goodgoth.com as a base, and used the same black lining fabric from earlier, which was not stretchy, for the inside. So I just laid it down on the floor and cut around the shape of it with the mask that I already had on top, and I ended up actually cutting off the bottom piece to make it more rounded, so it was just a round shape at the bottom there. Then I put it on my face and I pinned a straight line where I wanted it to contour to my nose on the top. And then once it fit how I wanted, I hand stitched along where the pin was. And then I tried it on again, and I did the same thing for the bottom of the chin as well. So where you're stitching, you're going to turn it inside out, so these stitches are on the inside of the mask, not on the outside. And this is what it looked like. I was really happy with it. So for the outside rhinestone covering, I just laid down the mask that I had and then put the rhinestones around it, and then I just cut around the shape of mask that I already had. So for the nose part, I took the two pointy pieces at the top of the mask and then I sewed them together to make a seam, and that would go right along the top of my nose. Then to attach my mask to my face, I ended up using two black hair ties from the dollar store, and to attach those to the mask, I pinned the fabric around the hair ties and tried it on to make sure that it fit, and then I hand sewed where the pins had been. And then once that was done, I pinned the rhinestone to the mask on my face, slightly stretching it to make sure that there weren't any gaps or stray pieces that were coming off the mask. And then I hand sewed all that as well, and this is the mask all done. This is honestly the most comfortable mask I've ever worn, and I love how it fits perfectly to my face. I was so happy with this. It was a last-minute decision to add to this outfit, and I could not be happier with how it looks. Last but not least, the choker. This was the easiest part. All I did was I just cut out a long rectangular shape, and I just tied it around my neck. It was super fast, super easy, and I thought it looked great. This took me about 2 minutes, I want to say, if that. And I love that it's a tie choker, so I can just get it on and off super easily, and you don't have to have any additional hardware for it. So that is it for my rhinestone DIY outfit video. I hope you enjoyed. I'm really happy with how this came out. I think it looks absolutely amazing. It is so shiny, and I may just have to make this my birthday outfit this year. My birthday is coming up. It is June 18th. Ah, my allergies have been kicking my ass. Oh my gosh, seriously though, I have been sneezing all day. You can probably hear it in my voice a little bit. I hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!